Hey everyone, today I'm creating some shaker cards using the Queen & Company Happy Harmony shaker card kit. This is my fourth video using the kit, so if you want to check out the others if you haven't already, there are links below. One is a review, another one is using the whole paper pad, another one is all the leftovers from that initial project, and then this one is all about using these dies. It's really important that once you've used all of the foam and acetate provided in the kit, that you can create more of it yourself so that you can create more shaker cards. To do this, it's really important that you have the outline dies, and I did purchase those separately with this kit. And you'll also see today that I'm using the foundation number 12 dies for some of the elements. Now, as we work through this, you can see here I've got a couple of examples of the pianos with and without the shaker elements. You'll see those in the previous projects. Okay, on to today. So I found in my stash some small squares of transparency. These are just overhead projector sheets, or in some instances they're actually binder covers, so things that you can buy at an office supply store to go on the front of when you create like a presentation pack. They're just thin plastic. So I'm going to use those with the outline dies to create the acetate lid on top of the shaker card. And in the meantime, I'm just using some double-sided tape here to put together two pieces of bright yellow fun foam. It's just kids fun foam, and I'm going to be using that today instead of the thick foam that comes in the original kit. I also have these panels that I had previously created that have all of the coloured hexagons. I think they're going to be absolutely perfect with today's cards. I've ducked away to my die cutting machine and I have cut out a whole bunch of the guitars, and you can see I'm getting started on my first shaker card here. And then I've done a whole lot of normal cardstock in colours that match the hexagon backing panels so that I can try and pull together something that's really bright and cheerful that would absolutely be perfect for maybe some children's birthday cards. So I've now got these doubled up pieces of foam, and I'm adding them onto the backing panels here just to create that little pocket that I will add the shaker elements into. And I've just decided to use random colours from the collection. So I'm not really sure which colour is going to go with which in the end, but I thought I can mix and match them later as part of this process. And for the moment, I'm just going through and trying to use up all of these little elements that I had in my stash. These were tiny little bright blue beads. I have no idea where they came from, but I used the entire pack, finishing off these 6 cards. And now I've got these tiny little packs of bright coloured sequins. I'm not sure where I got them from. They might have been in a card kit from another company, or I'm really not sure. But they are very shimmery and bright, so they are perfect for this style of card. You can also see on the right hand side that I still have some of those diamond gems from Queen & Company, and I do think that I use up all of them by the end of today. I'm not completely sure, but I do think I use them all. We will see. The one really important thing when filling up these shaker cards is the same as if you have made them before. You need to not overfill them, because it's really important that the shaker bits have space to be able to move around. And so with the acetate, when you put that on, if you give it a really good shake and make sure things can move, you should be all set after that. I'm just using my Barely Art liquid glue here, and I'm attaching these clear pieces of plastic. I did create these with my Big Shot die cutting machine, and what I found is I needed to put some cardstock underneath the plastic, and then I got a perfect cut with the die. But if I didn't, I found that it just did a really big dent in the plastic and didn't really cut through, because I think it's a little bit too soft. But I did find that, again, with the cardstock underneath, it cut all the way through. And most of the time it also cut the cardstock as well, so it gave me that panel to build the card on also. When I was doing my die cutting, I noticed that one of the shaker elements from the original kit had a big square piece of foam spare from the middle. It's the one where you have the musical notes and you can write the music with the different notes and the treble clef. And so what I did is I used the die to cut extra guitar panels out of that square. So here I don't have the 2 pieces of foam together. It's just one piece of foam out of the original thickness that came through from Queen & Company. So it did make it nice and simple because I didn't have to glue multiple things together. And it did make me think, I wonder if you can get foam that's this thick from another source and you don't have to buy the pre-purchased, the pre-cut acetate and outlines, because those actually go out of stock when they replace their kits. So you can't get them forever. All right, so with these two, I'm creating 2 more guitars. So there's going to be quite a few guitars today. Like this is going to be 8 now that I'm going to be creating cards from. And so you will see here, again, adding more and more elements. I haven't quite used up all of those green diamonds just yet, and I'm adding some clear beads. These ones here are really, 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 really teeny, tiny beads, and they're almost like bead glitter. And I would say probably not a good choice for a shaker card. They are fun to use, but they tend to get stuck around the edge of the foam. And so I probably could go in and use a powder tool to make sure there's nothing too sticky. But the reality is I don't want to fuss around with it too much. So next time I create shaker cards, I'll probably avoid putting in the teeny, tiny little beads and just opt for other shaker elements instead. There are plenty of things that you can add to make these types of cards super interesting. If you're enjoying the video, it would be fantastic if you could hit the like button. That is how YouTube knows to share the video with more viewers. And if you haven't subscribed, then you can hit that button too. Thank you so much. Okay, so here I've got all my little shaker elements from a guitar. And I have die cut the main part of the guitar, not the main part. I don't know what it's called, the middle part of the guitar out of a whole bunch of scrap cardstock. So you can see I've got some browns and some yellows, and there might even be a couple of black ones in there as well. And my intent was just to do a total mix and match, to just follow my instincts today and create cards using all of these leftovers. I do have some bright teal leftovers in my stash, and then I do have these birthday greetings sentiments that I had in my stash that were pre-stamped. So just digging around to find what I've got and see if I can use that to create some cards today. I do appreciate I probably have more spares hanging around than most people, but I'm trying to do my best to work through them. So you get to see how I do that in a lot of my videos. This was an interesting one. I had these small pieces of black cardstock left from a project, and I used them for the treble clef. And then I decided, well, maybe that outline would add an interesting element to the cards. So I kept those aside, and for these cards, I managed to incorporate it into the design. I'm using some foam squares here to make sure that the sentiment stands out on the card, and it creates a little bit of variation of height. And so those worked out pretty well too. Here I am with the guitars, and they're just these little shaker elements at this point until you actually attach the other part of the guitar to it. And once those are glued on, I then need to use spare foam to go behind the guitar so that the whole guitar is even and it's not going to bend on the card, if that makes sense. I think you'll see in a moment, I think I flip them over and then I add some foam behind just so that they're nice and flat, and when I attach them to the card, they're going to work out as I expect them. Here we go. So I've got this bright yellow, pop this straight behind, and it's just going to make sure that it's going to sit flat when I get to this step. In my previous projects, you'll see that I used the foundation dies number 12, and that's what these elements here are from. And I just used those same dies, and whatever leftover cardstock I had, I put through my die cutting machine to create some of the oval shapes, some of these ones with the circles and the stripes. Anything that I thought I could use to decorate a card somehow, I just used what I had. And if it was incomplete, then you've got this excellent strategy of just, you have it like it was meant to be that way, and you attach it on the side of the card. So nothing gets wasted. You don't have it to be a perfect rectangle. Oops, you can see I got some glue. I just wiped that off and everything was fine. So each one of these cards looks a little bit different, and I did fiddle around with them quite a bit, especially because when I did the hexagon backing panels, I really spread out the use of the coloured ones, and I put the white into the centre because I knew I would put some interesting element over the top of it. And so I didn't bother wasting the bright colours in the middle since I had all the whites when I created the outlines. Hopefully that makes sense. Here you can see me trying to fiddle around because I don't have enough of the teal coloured panels to put one in the centre of each of the cards. So I was trying to work out if the white would look okay. Now, it's probably not my first choice, but if I added another colour or another element into the card, I just felt like that was going to be a bit unnecessary and it was going to make things a little bit too complicated. For me, these are already super bright cards, so I was just trying to do my best not to create an overload of the senses. I think maybe that's why a lot of creators actually use tone-on-tone pattern paper rather than really bright, bold, just plain flat cardstock. I can see how that would help break up the design a little bit. So because I've made all of these guitars a little bit different, and I think I have 11 guitars, but I'm only making 8 cards today, I have the ability to kind of shuffle them around and see which ones match better with others. I think creating some contrast between the color of the guitar and whatever it's sitting on top of is what is really important. So it took a little bit of fiddling around, but I was happy with how it ended up. Once I've attached all of the guitars, I'm now trying to add a little bit more interest to them. I end up with these white spaces on the right-hand side, and that's really just because of the size of the guitar. It's quite a long element, and so you're quite limited to how you can put it onto the card. And so something that's a little bit offset, not an angle on either the left or right, is traditionally how it's going to be used. Here I've got these white musical notes, and these were leftovers from one of the previous videos where I was cutting out both the inside of the musical note but then the outer edge that gets used for the shaker. You can see here I'm chopping down one of the outer edges to add to this other card. And that's one of the beautiful parts about using these card kits. If the shape of the element is meaningful without everything added to it, so something like the musical note is really quite a simple shape, and even the heart as well, then when you cut it out, you could cut it out many, many times and use it in many different cards without needing to either complete the shaker element or attach anything else to it itself. So with these, I've got used up the musical notes, the little small ones in the top left. Then I've used up these ones here. And then I'm really just hunting around to figure out, is there anything else that I can attach to those other cards that look a little bit more plain? In the end, I decided it was worth running the treble clef through my die cutting machine a few more times, because that added just the perfect element to the right-hand side of the card to make sure that there was no empty space. I have put the links below to the other 3 videos that were linked to this one, so if you have not seen those yet, please check them out below. And other than that, I've put another couple of videos here that I think you might enjoy. Have a great day.